Hello, let's be honest, it's not a normal work day, is it? So on Newscast, the BBC's daily news podcast today, we're just going to have a laugh and a chill with some of the people who appear regularly on our podcast. And we're going to make it look as much like a homegrown Christmas as you can in a podcasting studio. So that's what you're going to see now. Hello, it's that period between Christmas and New Year where no one knows what day it is because Paddy O'Connell's here as well. Is it a weekend? Is it a weekday? No one knows.
Isn't it Christmas Eve?
I don't know what day this is.
Yes, I thought it was Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve apparently.
Yes.
So, okay, the festive... Well, I've been off for 2 days already. So there you go. I already don't know what day it is, even though I'm actually in work while we're doing... Anyway, we're joined by Alex Forsyth. Hello.
Hello.
Marianna Spring.
Hello.
And Henry Zeffman.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Can you tell us the provenance of your jumper, please, Henry, before we begin?
Yes. On my way here, Alex asked me if I had my Christmas jumper ready for this, and I panicked. And so I went to the House of Commons shop and I spent an ungodly amount of money on this jumper, which now no one listening to this podcast can do anything other than just assume I'm telling the truth that I'm wearing.
It's definitely... You could take it back and get a refund. Say it was an unwanted gift. Revealed, busted.
It's very fetching.
Busted.
It's got a portcullis on it, but it is somehow also Christmassy.
It
Is
could
there
also
actually
be-
anything Christmassy on
I was
it?
going to say it could be a sort of St. Patrick's
Well,
Day.
it is green.
Yes.
Looks festive from afar.
Yeah.
And so do yours.
From afar.
Yes, I've come dressed as a bauble in my sparkles.
Sparkly,
Lovely.
sparkly.
First bit of festive cheer I've had all year. There you go.
And Paddy, you and I have come dressed as two dads at a Christmas party that we didn't know we were having to go to.
Totally lame. I give full points because Marianna looks a little bit like an elf. But actually, then I realised
good
she's
way.
not dressed up at all.
It's just
the way
me
she
being
comes
me.
to the office.
Right, let the festivities begin. This episode is going to be a Q&A where you have supplied the Qs, we will provide the As. Some of them will be in our subject specialist areas, others of them will be completely random.
Okay.
And because we love a gimmick, we have had some Newscast branded Christmas crackers made by the amazing Newscast team. This is actually the best work they've done all year. The crackers contain the questions. Who would like to pull? Yes, they're not just for decoration. Who would like to pull a cracker first? Me and Alex, should
Yeah,
we do
should
one?
we do them?
Right.
Will it pop?
I think. Hang on.
sad.
Let's. So
Yeah, do you want me to
let's
do
do the
the
popper thing.
poppy
That we
thing?
know.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
It's actually flames came out of
Now
that.
you have to smell it. Because that's the Christmassy bit, that cordon.
Yeah, it smells like burning.
Isn't that bit that makes you remember-
Definite burning.
Smells
Lovely.
like fire and imminent death risk.
There we are. Christmas in my house.
Okay.
Health and safety.
So, this is a this is just the kind of chat I have around my Christmas table. What's everyone's favourite political system?
Who's the question?
The question is from Life of Coldwelly.
Because a lot of these are from social media, so it's people's
Excellent.
handles rather than
And
that's their name.
that is genuinely a brilliant kind of politics meets Christmas question.
Well, I mean, democracy.
I would say.
Well, you're a
democracy
big
is
fan of democracy, aren't you?
I've-
Most
yeah.
Sundays we hear a little
You do hear the same thing.
homage to democracy from you.
I would go first because, I mean, it's flawed and we've seen some really bad versions of it. And we had 86 prime ministers in the UK in one day. And it really stressed my understanding of what our system was. But then someone says, that's the parliamentary system. We don't vote for the prime minister. So it's not perfect, but it's better than being pushed out of a window because you don't agree with the boss.
And it has been a year of democracy because, of course, we had not
Loads
just
of
the
elections.
UK elections, but loads of elections around the globe, and the US elections, which are going to have a huge influence on next year too.
But democracy is straining at the seams in that year of elections. I mean, for practically, I think, the first time ever, every incumbent party in this year of elections has taken a beating. Not that they necessarily then left government. You know, you look at Japan, for example, where the same party is still in government, but they were delivered a beating at the polls. And something is happening. You know, it's one of the most important questions, I think, for the coming year and coming years, is whether that is just an inflation thing and that's going to work its way out the system and actually it's just incumbents being punished for inflation, or whether there's something deeper across the democratic world that's going on there.
And I was mugging up on the Irish election results this morning in case they came up. And you realise even Ireland, where they've got a public spending bonanza because they've raked in so much money from their very low corporation tax rate and all the fact that these big American companies are based there for tax reasons. But even there, where like public spending is going to increase by something like 6 or 7% next year, and there'll be loads left over. The two main parties, their share of the vote is decreasing. No one loves them, and the turnout was quite low. So even in polities where it seems like there's quite a lot of money to go around and inflation's not as much of a problem, it's still like not great for the incumbents. That is being felt there too.
Although I would say in the world that I frequent far too much on social media, there's been a lot of worry about threats to democracy this year, and the concern that there would be unrest, violence that kind of manifests itself because of what's shared online and that could undermine democratic systems and votes. And I think while there have been examples of that happening in different ways, around the elections themselves, certainly the big ones that we've been talking about that have happened in places where free and fair elections can happen, that kind of actually hasn't been as much of a problem as perhaps people might have thought listening this time last year, that actually a lot of this stuff has kind of passed without, particularly I think the US election, there was lots of discussion about the January the 6th riots and would we see a repeat of that in some way? And that just didn't happen, perhaps because of the way it unfolded and how quickly we had a result and everything else. But it does tell you that at least there's some faith perhaps still in how those systems work.
And of course, the other bit of that is what is the alternative to democracy that you would favour? If the question is what's your favourite political system, and we're making the point that democracy is under strain and it's challenged.
Citizens' juries.
Yeah, well, and to cross-promote, there was actually a really interesting Moral Maze on Radio 4 about this very question in December. You can probably catch it on BBC
Well,
Sounds.
I suppose another wrinkle is you could be looking at an elected head of state versus a constitutional monarchy. And the British public, I would argue on this podcast, has bonded with King Charles since the coronation more, partly because of his cancer diagnosis, and he's been revealed to be a man in his 70s who's been in our life a long time. And the president of France, let's say, had this huge power gifted by the constitution. So he goes, "Ooh, I'll call an election," which is a complete and utter fiasco. So you've got two heads of state there. So maybe what our question is getting at is, should we tell France to get a monarchy back? That's what, put the head back on.
Can I make a nerdy parochial point as well, which is what you are illustrating there with the French example, is there are lots of different kinds of democracy. Parliamentary system, presidential system. I think, thinking back to my ignoble undergraduate days, that the French system is technically semi-presidential. But what the UK does, which I feel is is showing its flaws in the past few months, is the UK requires basically every government minister to be an elected member of parliament first off. And so you start with that pool.
Unless you're foreign secretary under Rishi.
Well, right. So there's occasional wrinkles. But basically, you are choosing for your people who are going to decide what the country is like and how to run it. You are choosing from a very narrow pool. A lot of democratic systems, parliamentary systems even, don't do that. And I just think, as we watch this new Labour government with a load of people who've never held executive office of any sort before, learning how to make things work, I do just wonder if that's the wisest way to do it.
At the weekend, I was thinking about maybe starting a little Star Wars marathon like I do every few decades. And I just think, the parliamentary system, the Galactic Senate. Like, it's massive. I just don't know how they ever decide anything, and then it's actually very vulnerable to a takeover by one guy pretty easily.
Well, that's a bit like the House of Lords. I mean, the Galactic Senate is smaller than the House of Lords. But I mean, the thing is, if reform were here, what would they say about our system? 5 MPs and the same, millions of votes?
Well, I was going to say that's the point that came out of the election in 24 most widely, was whether or not the voting system as opposed to the political system needs some serious consideration. And I think as we're looking ahead to the next couple of years, when you're going to have votes in the Senedd in Wales and Holyrood in Scotland where they have different voting systems, I just wonder how much that conversation will reignite.
Right, I think actually there's 5 more crackers.
Sorry.
Should we move on? Marianna, do you want to do
Yeah.
one now? Pick which gentleman you want to.
was a good
pop your
start.
crackers on.
He's made more of an effort.
Oh, sorry. Should we?
Careful of the
poppy bit.
flames.
Ready?
I love that.
Ooh.
That's what I do. I always buy the same crackers.
Thank you very much. Right.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
From Sarah Lula Hulu.
That sounds like a streaming service in America.
Obviously, apart from Newscast merch, is in brackets, what do you all have on your Xmas lists?
Good question.
Henry?
Not a Christmas jumper because he's got one.
Exactly.
Actually, this was at the top of his Christmas list.
I'm going to have to
Portcullis
cross it
house.
off. I need a new coat because my coat that I wear in Downing Street at 5 a.m. is not warm enough. And
Too
it's a pretty
thin,
warm
too
coast.
thin.
Well, the thing is, and Adam and Alex in particular will be able to empathise here. This
Paddy and I
sounds like
just hang out
but
outside.
this sounds like a heavy-handed metaphor, but it's true. Downing Street is the coldest street in the country.
So
Yeah.
cold.
It is extraordinary. I do not understand.
It's got a microclimate which is freezing.
It is. The sun never rises in Downing
No,
Street.
no.
And you've got it's right by the river. I don't really understand why it's freezing, and I could do with a thicker coat. If anyone wants to send one in, they're welcome to.
And if Chris Mason was here at this point, he'd say rubber-soled shoes.
Yeah,
as
well, I
That's what
learnt
you
that
need,
halfway
because you get
through-
very cold.
halfway
Yeah.
through
Very
the
cold
year,
feet.
actually. Yeah.
Anyone else want to reveal some?
I actually
Presents?
really need a new phone, which is slightly hilarious.
Hang on, don't you have
I was
24
going
of
to say,
them
you've
from the
got a
election?
bank.
Because I've sat in here with 24 undercover voter iPhones with these fictional characters, but mine is all smashed.
Yeah.
My actual one needs replacing.
Okay, so that's good. So it's funny
So
because
I need that to investigate social media.
the two things that you really need for your job is what you need. So you've neglected yourself. I went on an Airbnb weekend and I really liked everywhere.
With Laura?
No. Funnily enough.
I thought you spent all your weekends with her.
Funnily enough, we weren't together in an Airbnb. But
You're on it.
Everywhere the host had put little discs that you can put your phone on and they charge by, is it magnetism? I mean, I don't even know
Oh,
how
the
it
remote,
works.
the portable chargers.
portable
Yeah,
charger.
like the pad one. So
The pad.
for the undercover voters, I use them.
They had them everywhere. They had them in every room. And it's just, my cable's always breaking. I mean, so yes, I'm going to go there.
Adam?
I've already had an example of me and a loved one buying each other the same present and us realising, luckily before Christmas, so I sent mine back.
What was it?
It was a board game.
Which one?
A
Which one?
train-based board
Was
game.
it Ticket to Ride?
Yeah, Ticket to
Sorry,
Ride
can
Europe.
I say that?
Ticket to Ride Europe.
Wow.
Other games are available.
It's such a good game.
Very
I've
good.
only discovered it.
How does it work?
Very good. So it's like, how to describe it? Basically, you have to complete these train lines across Europe, and you have these cards which are routes you have to complete, like London to Kiev, like Kiev is on there, or like St. Petersburg to Lisbon, and you have to like trade with the bank to get cards to build your train lines, and it's very good.
And you're trying to obstruct other people from building their.
That's the
train
next
lines.
level. When you first start playing it, you're just
okay,
trying to complete
sorry.
your lines. Then when you're getting to be a bit more strategic, you're
Because they've
trying
just
to
put
block
the
people.
actual Paris to Berlin service back, haven't they? That happened very
Sleeper,
recently.
yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe all of us share the train obsession.
Well, I would say like next, like God tier level of Ticket to Ride is playing it, but with recent continental train news in mind.
Ah,
That's really next level.
Adam has wild Christmases.
Anyway, right, who's next? Paddy, why don't you pull
Wait,
a
what was
cracker?
Alex?
Oh, sorry, she didn't seem
Well,
to want.
no,
you
I
seem to not want to do it.
No. It's just we've decided this year among my sort of sisters' side of the family that we're not going to buy for the adults. We're just going to buy for the kids because, there's just broods of them now in my family, and so we've made it like a kid Christmas. So I've had a slimmed down Christmas list. So I feel like I should say something like, "I'll be very happy to spend time with friends and family."
I have the best present I bought was actually just today, and I ordered it online. And what's it called? I want to get it completely right. It is Taylor Swift themed cocktail recipes called Shake It Up.
Very good.
That's
Very good.
I bet we don't make any of the cocktails ever though.
right.
Right,
We're
go
ready.
ahead. Go
Ready?
ahead. Oh,
Do it. Wow.
Right.
smoke that came off that.
No messing.
So from Spindle Space, do the PM and ministers get any break over Christmas, or do they work Christmas Day? I'm not going to speak about this because I don't know.
Well, they do in theory get a break. So I don't think, they sort of sit down and have a whole load of stuff they're intending to do on Christmas Day, but they don't obviously get to switch off because they've still got a government and a country to run. So they're always sort of on call, and they actually have like a duty on call rota in each department. So there's like an on-call minister for if anything happens over the festive period. And then obviously, depending on the severity or scale of anything that might happen unexpectedly, that would go up to whoever would need to respond. So, yeah, I mean, they get a bit of time to have some downtime and be away, but they never get to switch off entirely because they have responsibilities, right?
But more than the summer, say.
Definitely.
Where every government minister's holiday seems to get cancelled. And it's a time of year where, unless something external happens, politics does properly shut down on a kind of bipartisan basis.
And they don't have like a packed diary of events beyond things like New Year's messages or that kind of stuff. So it's definitely more of a break than other times of the year, on the whole.
At the time of recording, do we know what the Starmers are doing for Christmas? Are they going to Chequers? Are they going to hang out in Kentish Town?
Don't think they've said yet, have they?
No. Well,
I
they've,
also can
they've
imagine
rented out their house in Kentish Town.
Are they?
it would have to be Downing Street or Chequers or, a family member, I guess.
Well, surely you'd go Chequers. I mean, really, you'd have to
It's
be
much more Christmas.
You'd have to be really puritanical as an elected politician to go, I've got this Tudor house in the country and Christmas was invented. We've got these big fireplaces. No, I'm going to go to the coldest street in the world and just with no sun.
And stand outside in a thin coat and hope I get a pick
and I'm going to stay there.
Although I have often thought, I hope this doesn't make me sound tragic, it must be quite nice to go into central London on Christmas Day, like days when no one is there, and
really
walk
Christmas.
around. And so actually, Keir Starmer has the ability to do that should he wish, with a couple of close protection
I
officers.
wonder if that horrible Tesco is open on Christmas Day, though. That's just
bet
up the
it
road from
is.
Downing Street. That everyone who's ever lived in Downing Street
Well, that's where they bought the Partygate booze from.
No, that was the Co-op. That's further up.
Oh, you
It's
sure?
on the Strand.
Oh, because it wasn't the Tesco.
No, it was
Can,
the
we
Co-op.
can someone
Adam had
Google
another
that?
board game.
Can someone...
Westminster Booze Run. I've won the longest booze run in Westminster, the Westminster Booze Run board game. I also can imagine, this might be shown to be hideously out of date by the time people are listening to this, because Starmer wants to do politics a bit differently, and he also is quite protective of his family. I can imagine him saying, no, we're not briefing out where we're spending Christmas this year, because that's tittle-tattle that no one needs to know whether I'm doing a good job of running the country or not. Back to the service of the people.
It's perfectly possible. It's perfect. You have to remember, of course, his summer holiday got cancelled, didn't it, because of the riots in the summer. So in theory, he hasn't had a little break since he took office in July, and then obviously there was the election campaign that preceded it. So yeah, who knows? We may find out, we may not, but I suspect they'll be aiming for a bit of downtime.
Let's have another cracker. Henry?
From KJ, what was the most fun you've had working this year?
Apart from this,
I was going to say every episode of Newscast, clearly. I mean,
good. Right answer.
What's the most fun on a kind of personal level or kind of Ed Davey waterslide level?
It does say most fun you've had working this year. So
Did
I
you go on
presume
a
less
Davey Walters?
personal.
Well, no,
Well, no,
Alex
I
is
just
questioning
witnessed-
what's the definition of
Yeah.
fun.
Oh,
I
fun.
see.
Yeah.
Because
In a working
you could have
capacity.
something that's like intellectually and journalistically very satisfying, but people listening might think, oh, that was not very exciting. Or you could have something that on the surface seems more like fun.
Yeah, not sure.
Well, I'm going to give the really obvious, bland answer.
I know what you're going to say.
The general
The
election,
election, yeah.
was astonishingly fun. It is a privilege to get to cover these things. It winds me up no end when some journalists, none in this room, of course, and not the BBC, say, oh, another election, got to go around the country following our political leaders. And I mean, what a privilege. It was amazingly fun. I was in the room when John Curtis told us 15 minutes before what the exit poll was. That was very cool. Mostly because I knew something most people didn't, but also just because it was dramatic, it was tense. I was up all night on the radio, occasionally getting a word in edgeways. It was extraordinarily fun, and I loved it.
I was going to say in a kind of similar way, but the US election, because the last US election in 2020 was when I first started doing this job, but obviously it was the pandemic, so I was mainly just here investigating social media feeds, but not really out and about. Whereas this year I've been to all kinds of places in the States. Like I was hanging out in a waterfall in Colorado with some conspiracy theorists with my shoes off, having some key lime pie with conspiracy theorists in Tampa, tracking down some trolls, just all the kind of out and about, getting to meet people, again, around elections, because it's just such a kind of moment that you build to. But I guess particularly with the kind of stuff I do, it's a bit different to Henry, like getting to sort of be out and about everywhere and hanging out on buses and all those sorts of things. You find yourself in the kind of unusual places with the real people who are doing the stuff online. So I've definitely loved that in a slightly lame way as well.
Paddy?
Yeah. Well, within the last 12 months, right at the beginning of the 12 months, the Barnsley Museums discovered a carol in a box which had been written by a bottle maker. And it's actually a really classic carol when you hear it, which we then did because we sent a BBC sound engineer. The Barnsley Youth Choir sang it live. And many of our listeners who've kind of had a difficult year in the news, because everything in the news is now times by 85,000. Very loud. It was very pure, very lovely, and it's a very classic carol. And I loved it because it was just a piece of good news, and it was all as it happened. It was a bottle maker. He wrote it. It's a lovely tune. Maybe they'll play us out on it. They're so good, the team here, and I loved it.
Oh, that is cute. And also, I always find when you do these like review of the year programs, you end up like overloading it with things that have happened in the last few months because that's the things that are most vivid in your mind. But I think that's good that that's something from
It was
the
360
start of
days
this
ago,
year.
yeah.
Exactly. Most fun I had was doing the newscast all-nighter on the general.
Yeah,
This is a very
so
general election
fun.
themed set of
That was
answers,
so
but
fun.
But
really
to be
good.
fair, it was the huge political event of the year in the UK, right?
And just hanging out in the radio theatre with lots of newscasters watching the results come in was really good fun. And then just random people turning up like, oh, look, it's David Lammy about to become Foreign Secretary. He just strolled in. Let's just have a chat. It was great. Right, have we got any more crackers? Oh, yeah, there's one more over here.
Right, let's try and make it pop.
You won't. You won't.
Yay! I basically gripped it very, very, very hard. That's why I did it. Oh, I'm going to put my hat on as well. Except that'll take too long. Right. This is from Texas Pete. You're all coming to mine for Christmas lunch. Oh, thanks. What drink am I getting in for you?
See, I've got a very strict order of drinking on Christmas Day.
I'm just putting my Christmas hat on.
A morning Bucks fizz. And then some other kind of fizz, Prosecco vibes while you're preparing the dinner. White wine with dinner. Red wine with cheese and biscuits after. And then tea or coffee. That's me.
You never deviate?
Well, no, the odd glass of water.
If you remember.
I've gone back to the future because I don't think you can beat a gin and tonic. I went off it for a long time, but actually, someone who makes.
Why did you go off it?
I just thought it's lame. It was one of the first drinks I got into.
Did it become too trendy?
I don't think it was. Well, they did. They did get too trendy with gin. I mean, obviously,
Do you have one of those big glasses?
I hate big glasses.
I
Actually.
said that because I knew you would hate
I
it.
do hate big glasses. Because the ones with the goldfish should be in. But just a really good gin and tonic made by someone who knows how to make it. It doesn't need to be too strong. It just needs to be flavoursome. I don't think you can beat it. I'd rather like one now.
And
Simone,
now we turn to the
unfortunately, we do not have a
production
drinks cabinet in this studio.
What would I normally have? I feel like on Christmas, kind of similar to Alex actually, love a bit of fizz, then some red wine, quite straightforward. My drink of choice normally would be something like a Negroni or something like that. Love something like that. But I'm not too fussy, except I don't like white wine.
I just was about to say you go straight from fizz to red without going via
No,
wine.
I think you need a white with the turkey.
I don't like white. I've just never liked it.
Oh.
So here I
The
am.
one drink I sometimes have on Christmas, but never otherwise generally, but sometimes someone brings and it comes out is some sort of dessert wine, which I do really like because
you?
it's basically
Yeah,
just
I like
really
wine.
sweet.
Yeah.
Dessert wine.
Oh, I like dessert wine.
Well, if you
Cough
have a
syrup.
sweet tooth, it's just yeah, it's
syrup.
not really wine, is it? But it goes down very nicely.
Me from 3 months ago would have said Negroni, obviously, because that has been my drink of choice for the last couple of years. But then I went to go and see Goldfinger at the cinema because it was re-released for its 60th anniversary, which was this year. And I went for martinis beforehand just to make it a bit of a themed evening.
Well, like
and
a
I was
proper martini.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gin. Well, I had gin martini rather than vodka martinis. And I realised a gin martini is delicious. So I'm back on the martinis now.
Wow.
Which is slightly
Very sophisticated.
deadly, unfortunately.
They
Yeah,
are
it's a bit
deadly.
deadly.
I would say, though, there is a well-known pizza chain that has just started selling a nut-flavoured liqueur, which is, I'm so glad that's back. I wouldn't say what the brand is, because it's a brand.
What flavour
Oh,
nuts?
amaretto.
No. It comes in because it was invented by monks. It comes in a bottle that looks like a monk's habit with a little rope around the waist. Everyone's looking at me very blankly. I haven't just
It's
invented
so-
a new spirit. It does exist.
What is
But you don't mean butt
It's
fart,
because
isn't
all
that
of the
much?
details
No,
have
it's a-
been
it's a
erased,
nut-flavoured
so we don't
liqueur.
know the pizza
It's got-
chain, we don't
Let's
know
just
the...
look at-
He's
It's
back
a
on the
nut-flavoured
bucky, guys.
liqueur. Nut-flavoured
Back on the
liqueur.
bucky.
It's kind of like a speaking version of Shiraz.
Well, we are trying to get the Christmas vibe. Anyway,
There's a monk
right.
and then-
Okay, I think we've used all the Christmas crackers.
What's that
There's
one?
one left.
Oh, is there one left?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Paddy,
Paddy?
You and Marianna do that one.
Are we going to eat the mince pies at any point? Or do they have
I do not
questions
like
in them
mince
as well?
pies. so
Then you
can-
can't
Are they
speak.
fake?
have questions.
Oh.
Right, so this is from Reviews by Ruben, Best Christmas Film. Very good
Oh,
one, and it came out
classic.
last. Because the thing is, these were picked in random, much like the guests were. Ultimately, that's the best question, really, isn't it? Which political system do you like?
Sorry.
That was an interesting
Start
discussion.
hard.
No, I'm not being
Start
rude.
hard.
I didn't write it either, Paddy. I just read it.
Yeah, don't blame the messenger. This is a very divisive topic,
It is.
isn't it? Elf.
You're sure about
There
that?
you go.
Never seen it.
How?
And I don't like that sort of twee rubbish.
It's not.
It's not twee though. It's quite
I
cynical.
mean, elves are twee. But
Someone gets lost. It's a wrong toy. I don't want all of that.
actually, that is broadly the plot. To be fair.
Spoiler
I don't know
alert.
how you've quite managed that. But yeah.
I feel like I want to say Love Actually, but I'm not sure you can anymore.
Well, that's a culture war, isn't it?
I know.
Why can't you say that? Has it been cancelled?
No,
Where have you been, Paddy?
Well, I wouldn't listen to that.
Because you opt out of Christmas film
Well, I
discourse,
wouldn't
didn't
really
you?
be listening to people trying to cancel Love. I wouldn't be listening. I'd just tune it out.
Which character in Love Actually is sympathetic? That is the question. None of them.
That's kind of the whole thing.
Is it though?
It's it's who?
He
It's
prefers
Hugh
elves.
Grant, isn't it? Isn't he?
Emma Thompson.
Okay, yeah, but
then you
sympathetic
feel quite
and
sorry
something
for
nice
her.
happens too.
Yes. Okay. All right. Fair point.
I don't know.
Okay. See,
I'm very anti-love, actually.
I just wanted to spark the discussion.
Loves
The
elves.
film I've never seen, and I've noticed a lot of discourse around this year, is The Polar Express.
Oh, it's marvellous.
Is it though? Because I've seen a lot of people this year revisiting it like 20 years later now that they're an adult going, oh, I don't like it.
No, it's terribly,
I
terribly
never
good.
liked it.
It must be
No, you were
twee,
wrong.
Paddy.
I was wrong.
It's
Yeah.
it's one of the best films ever made.
And you're saying you don't like twee Christmas films.
What's
You
your
think one of the
favourite?
best films made is about a magical Christmas train that goes to the North Pole.
that
I
your
believe is what the plot is.
Hello. Yes, I would have to say that I really like. Is it Die Hard 1? Is that the?
Oh, now you're sparking a whole discussion.
Is that a Christmas film
Is
or
that
not?
a Christmas film or not?
Oh, well, it is because Christmas is
Set at Christmas.
Yeah.
set at Christmas. But I know you.
What's the argument for it not being a Christmas film? Because
Because
it's
it's like
not
an
cute.
action movie,
Right, okay.
I suppose, and it's not twee.
not
No
traditional.
one loses their toys, you know.
So is there an argument about Polar Express as well? Is that been cancelled?
It's not. There's not an argument about is the Polar Express a Christmas film, or it's more just like is it actually a bit creepy?
Oh,
of
well,
the
to be fair,
CGI
Father
and the-
Christmas is creepy because it's a strange man coming into your house down the chimney and going into your bedroom. I mean, that's the definition of creepy.
Santa comes into your bedroom.
He does.
Most people, it's the living room.
That's the only-
you get special treatment.
that's the only reason-
Straight into the boudoir.
That's the only reason I look forward to Christmas. But how do you...
Traumatising for
How
our
do-
5-year-old listeners.
We don't have any 5-year-old listeners. We've got 5-year-old editors. The thing is that what would you expect? How would you expect to get the stocking by the bed? That would be all I would ask you. And you can't give.
So you kind of disagree with the whole premise, really.
No, I love it, but creepiness is
You have
part
to
of it.
accept the creepiness
You
of
have to,
Christmas.
yes,
is
of
the
course you
argument
do.
you're
You know,
making.
bringing a tree in.
Do you know what, though? I love Die Hard 2, and that definitely is a Christmas film. The only I was thinking about that today. The problem is that the journalist character in it is a real slime ball, and I don't approve of that.
No.
Because we're a
I
noble
tell you
profession.
what, my favourite Christmas films are the films that aren't Christmassy, but you watch them at Christmas, like Mary Poppins
I
and
was going to
Oliver.
say, or like
and
Wallace and Gromit,
the
or
kind of
like Chicken
classics.
Run vibes.
Yeah, that's good. I think the thing is that in the time I've worked on the newscast episodes,
The newscast.
I know you hate
love
it when I
call
say
it
the.
that. Let's know that.
Adam and Henry
Tried to roll back on that on the newscast.
sofa. Adam and Henry actually do have a really great film knowledge. I'm not saying that Alex and Marianna don't, but
Oh,
I
no,
do.
no, you can
Oh,
say
you
that.
can
Yes,
say
you
Yeah,
can.
but I just think that Adam and Henry, you should perhaps just do a real film wang at
Like
each
a sort
other.
of Kermode and Mayo
Have
style.
I ever spoken about a
Yes,
film
you
on
did.
Newscast? Did
You
I?
It came up as best sequel, and you went straight for
Something. A film.
Terminator 2, which of course is better than.
It is good. Yeah.
Yes.
But there is a kind of looming idea I've got, which is that the spirit of Christmas, which we're celebrating with this episode, is kind of needed in the news agenda more, in the news business, because the news is so massive every day and it's often terribly bleak. But the listeners, certainly the ones I'm dealing with mostly, they really appreciate light and shade, or appreciate a bit of nostalgia. They appreciate being told, don't want to be woken up and told they're going to die by the time they get to the end of the programme. It's just not, someone in the news business has got to get hold of it.
Well, one of the questions that was submitted for this fun Q&A via my Instagram was someone saying, what are the chances of us having World War III in our lifetimes? Right. I thought, it's an interesting subject, but maybe not one for
That was
this
in
episode.
the next
Yeah.
cracker.
I mean, that's basically what we do every day, discussing that question. Right, now we've run out of crackers, but there is one question I want to read out from Edward, and he says, what's your favourite Christmas tune? And he says, is it Wham! Last Christmas? Or, and this is what really intrigued me, David Bowie featuring Bing Crosby, Peace on Earth, Little Drummer Boy.
That's
Have you ever
actually
heard
one
this?
of my favourite
I've
Christmas
heard
songs
Yeah.
I've
ever.
never heard of it.
Yeah.
And it's like this amazing collaboration between David Bowie and Bing
beautiful.
Crosby.
It's beautiful, and it's definitely one of my favourite Christmas songs ever.
But have you seen, if you go on Spotify, other streaming services are available, it shows you the whole video of the Christmas.
Standing at a piano, aren't they?
Yeah, but there's a weird build up to it where basically it looks like they're in the Addams Family mansion. And then they're doing this weird sort of role play where David
bringing
Bowie's like,
creepy Christmas.
and David Bowie's like, oh, where's the butler? You're not the butler. And Bing Crosby's like, well, I do like to sit. And you're like, what? And then they sing this actually very nice duet.
No, I haven't seen it, but I will watch it.
Weird. So
Song's
weird.
great though.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, it allows me to tell a cracker joke, which is...
I was going to do... Are we going to do the same one?
Well,
It's a
no-
Glaswegian Bing Crosby cracker joke.
Oh, well, that was why I was...
You do yours first.
Well, what's the difference between Bing Crosby and Walt Disney?
Bing sings and Walt Disney. I used to have that joke. Had to be
Oh, is that
explained
your
to me
joke?
so many times. No, it's a famous
You're both going to
Glaswegian
do the same joke.
cracker joke. Yeah.
Good job you're from Glasgow.
That's how
isn't it?
kismet we are. Have you got a cracker joke, Marianna?
I don't think I do.
Oh, you haven't come with one.
These crackers don't have jokes.
I've got a very bad memory for jokes, and I can only ever remember one joke, really, and it is from a Christmas cracker. And this is how we will end this cracker of an episode. What do you call a judge with no thumbs? Justice fingers. The sound of silent laughter. That's what makes great podcasting, isn't it?
That's also what makes Christmas.
yeah. Slightly tense interpersonal relations in a crowded room. Yeah,
People
that's
who hate
Christmas.
each other gather together again.
Right. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for partaking in this
it's a
ridiculous
pleasure.
parlour game of a podcast. And thanks for your contributions throughout the year as well. It's been great.
It's been a joy. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. And thanks to you for keeping us company all throughout the year. Hope you have a good Christmas period, and there'll be plenty more episodes of Newscast popping up over the next few days. Bye-bye.